Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Krishna Janmashtami is always a appropriate occasion for us to think about how much we understand the appearance of Krishna. Do we really accept that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can appear in this world? Sometimes people say, why would he want to appear? Sometimes people say that Krishna was a very powerful, ordinary person. This is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes an effort to clarify perceptions of him. That is his mercy. He says, persons think I'm an ordinary being, or persons think that first I was impersonal, then I became personal. In other words, my form, they think, is just an illusion, whereas the real thing is the impersonal Brahman, which happened to take a temporary form that's material. This is a very popular misconception, East and West. Who is Krishna? This is the greatest mystery of yoga. You may take it for granted and think that, well, I believe in Krishna. Others believe in whatever they want to believe. But Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita asks you to understand his science, the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he offers you a graduation present upon your satisfactorily completing your studies, your realizations. He says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvata chaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti soarjuna. Krishna is letting us know that understanding him is not an ordinary achievement. Understanding Krishna in truth requires devotional capacity. It is not simply some kind of intellectual achievement. Otherwise, there's so many scholars in the world who you would think, being materially intelligent, would understand Krishna. But no, so many misunderstandings, misperceptions of Krishna abound because they don't approach Krishna through bhakti. How much do we really accept Krishna saying that bhaktya mam abhijanati, only by devotional service can I be understood? Is this just some kind of platitude or some kind of religious statement? Or is it the foundation of bhakti science? Krishna is saying that you can't understand him unless he chooses to let you understand him. Now, do we really accept that? Or do we have the typical Western arrogance that whatever I want to understand, I can understand. Just put it in front of me. I can look at it. I can search on Google, I'll understand it. But Krishna is saying that only by devotion can you comprehend him. Is this just some kind of Hindu granny talk? Or is this for real? Krishna is telling us that you have to seek his pleasure, and then he'll let you understand him, perceive him, even see him. Janmashtami is a most appropriate time for our focusing on pleasing Krishna so that we can understand him. And why so much fuss about trying to understand Krishna? He offers you your graduation present. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvata chaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti sorjana. He says, if you can understand the mystery of my appearance in this world and my activities, if you can understand all that in truth, then what happens? Upon giving up the present body, you don't take another material body. But is that the end of it? Okay, you don't take another material body, which would be a great relief. But then what happens? What happens next is most important. The not taking of another material body is a side effect of bhakti. The real achievement is mameti. We associate with Krishna, we go to Krishna. This is our graduation present. Therefore, we're willing to spend our whole life trying to understand Krishna. We're possessed by that goal. I don't know if you've ever, in your ordinary dealings, became so determined to understand someone else. Usually these days, we don't have such patience. If someone acts in such a way that perplexes us, we just dismiss the person. Anyway, that's the way that person is. There's no point in trying to understand that person. We're lazy in the age of Kali, especially because there's so much disagreement, so much quarrel in the age of quarrel, so much social tension, agitation. So we're really hesitant to expend a lot of energy in trying to understand someone else. This is why families break apart, marriages break apart, societies break apart, because very few want to invest the energy required to sustain an understanding, empathetic relationship in the age of Kali. It's hard work. Just like in our International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada asked his followers to cooperate together and push on his mission harmoniously. This is not easy. It's actually, you may find out as you proceed in your years in this world, that it's easier controlling lust than it is to cooperate. Cooperating with others in this day and age is an extraordinary sacrifice. The usual tendency is that you just march to your own beat, do your own thing, Maybe as a young devotee, you're very cooperative. The first 2 years, the first 3 years, yes, Prabhu. Sure, Prabhu. Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Sri Krishna. You're like that for the first 2 or 3 years, but then you wise up. Hey, I don't need anyone telling me what to do. I don't need to take pains in trying to be a harmonious member of the Society of Devotees. I'm chanting my rounds. I'm following the 4 rules for now anyway. And that's all. That's all I need to do. That's all anyone needs to expect of me. Beyond that, I do whatever I want, however I want it, when I want to do it. Reminds me of a wonderful definition of community given by one devotee down under. I won't tell you whether Australia or New Zealand, so you won't be able to figure out who the person is. So he said, I can tell you, Mars, I can tell you what community is. Community means when I feel like talking to others, I do that. We share a community feeling for as long as I feel like talking to them. And when I don't feel like talking to them, I just go in my house, shut the door, and shut out the whole world. That, he said, is community. So, cooperation with others in the Society of Devotees requires understanding. And to understand someone else, we have to be prepared for it taking some time. We're so presto instant in this day and age of intense quarrel. Everything has to be like that. Everything has to happen overnight. Did you say overnight? That's a long time. Everything has to be instant. So to spend years trying to understand someone or work with someone, overlook the blow-ups that happen sometimes, the misunderstandings, the misperceptions, regardless of who's right or who's wrong. This is work. This is labor. So anyone who has been active in bhakti for decades can tell you that this cooperation, the effort to cooperate is hard work. It gets intense sometimes, but we're doing it because Krishna's devotee asked us to do it. And by pleasing the devotee, we can please Krishna. Now, let me explain that this pleasing devotional service doesn't mean that you can't take any initiative and you can't try to be proactive and achieve anything if others are not with you. They haven't lockstep with you. They haven't coordinated themselves with your efforts. No, bhakti is a very subtle science. It's simple, yet it is complex. There is a way how to cooperate with others while at the same time pushing on in your own way. One doesn't cancel out the other. Working harmoniously doesn't mean that you just become a wallflower and have no drive, no bhakti determination, no bhakti innovation, no bhakti entrepreneurial spirit. No, both things go together. The harmonious working together as well as the individual achievement. So let's keep that in mind, because if we're going to understand Krishna in truth, we have to be in to bhakti for the long run. And to be into bhakti for the long run means learning how to work with others. Otherwise, we would leave the association of devotees gradually or abruptly, or through the front door, through the back door, out the window. Some or other, we would ease away from associating with devotees. And in this way, it becomes much more difficult to understand Krishna in truth. And without understanding Krishna in truth, how is it that upon giving up the present body, we won't take another material body? I'm recalling a statement by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who said that without the association of devotees, it becomes very difficult for us to distinguish between material affairs and spiritual affairs. In other words, our understanding of Krishna and Krishna's service becomes very foggy without the association of devotees. So we should know about all these things, all these aspects, if we want to understand Krishna in truth. We're always seeking to be in circumstances and situations that heighten our capacity for understanding Krishna. So on the one hand, what Krishna says about how to attain him is very simple. But on the other hand, it requires sacrifice. Even in material existence, if you want to understand someone, it could be your own partner, your own spouse. It takes sacrifice. It just doesn't drop out of the sky into your lap. I won't mention any names, but practically, and by my saying this, I'm not stressing one gender at the expense of the other gender. I'm just saying, so many married men have told me about their situation. It's hard work, Maharaj. It's hard work. Now, then again, I have to add, I don't hear from their wives so much, but when I do, men would be surprised to hear their response. That you guys are complex. You guys are tough to understand. So my point is that in this age of Kali, misunderstanding is on all sides, and to try and understand someone takes commitment, patience, a sustained effort. Similarly, to understand Krishna requires commitment, patience, and a sustained effort. Otherwise, you would say, why the fuss? Why so much effort to understand Krishna? Why doesn't Krishna just reveal himself to us? Why does he make it so difficult for us? But we make it difficult for ourselves. Krishna's presenting himself as he is. But we have so many other priorities. In other words, our main problem is that we don't give Krishna quality time. That phrase has become a real buzz phrase throughout the world, even India. For decades in the West, partners in strained relationships have said, oh, we haven't been spending any quality time together. Now I notice in India, the same buzz, the same slogan is no quality time. What about Krishna? Understanding Krishna in truth requires quality time. And Krishna's asking for our commitment. Think of all the possible misunderstandings that Krishna lists in Bhagavad Gita. You think he's ordinary. You think first he was impersonal. You think he appears in this world via a material conduit, via some material mechanism. No, he says, Ajopi san avyatma, bhutanam ishvaropi san. I come my own way. I have my own portal by which I enter the material world in such a way that I'm untouched by matter. Why should Krishna be impeded by matter when matter is his energy? He's the master. Yogeshwara, the master of all mystic power, means he can appear within the material world and be unaffected by the material world. And in Bhagavad Gita, he says you can do the same thing. You can be qualitatively as free as Krishna. This is the goal, that you reclaim your pure spiritual status. How is it that the unborn becomes born? This is the mystical paradox. Queen Kunti wonders about that in the first canto. How is it that Krishna's Aja, and yet he still seems to take birth? But of course, the Acharyas point out that from one point of view, this is not very miraculous because we, the living entities, are also Aja, unborn. But we make the mistake of identifying with our material body, and Krishna has no material body and makes no such mistakes. Krishna's body is not produced by karma. His body is not influenced by the modes of material nature. Yet he has name, form, qualities, and activities. Why does he appear? Kunti Devi sifts through various possibilities. Some say he comes to revive the process of hearing and chanting. Some say he comes to support the pious kings. She gives various possible reasons. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives his own reason in order to terminate the miscreants and protect the devotees. He comes. But many of you know that Krishna doesn't have to come for that. Unfortunately, avowedly materialistic people are destroying themselves. They don't need Krishna to come for doing that. They're destroying themselves through the threat of nuclear destruction. There are enough nuclear weapons in the world to destroy the world hundreds of times over. They destroy our own environment and bring down so many natural repercussions upon themselves. They, because of their improper association with animals, they're subject to zoonotic diseases like COVID-19, a zoonotic disease originating from viruses jumping from animals to human beings. 75% of the the emerging diseases these days are zoonotic in nature. So human beings are very expert at destroying themselves. Krishna doesn't have to come for that. And as you know, pritranaya sadhunam, to deliver the sadhus, the devotees, they're already delivered. They're already properly situated just by their bhakti yoga status. So then why does Krishna come? Those reasons he gives in Bhagavad Gita are basic, and certainly they're fundamentally true because Krishna himself says it. But more personally, more intimately, Krishna comes to give pleasure to his devotees by revealing his pastimes. For example, Srila Jiva Goswami will explain that the two main reasons for Krishna's appearance, more intimate and more confidential. Number one, to increase the fortune of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai. And number two, while he's apparently executing worldly affairs, he's tasting Shringara Rasa. He's tasting the intimacy of the most confidential relationships. These are his real reasons for appearing. And according to the attitude, the bhakti attitude of the particular devotee, Krishna shows varying degrees of intimacy, just like with Vasudeva and Devaki. They're a very interesting combination. They're not Brijbasis. They're not Vrindavan devotees, nor are they completely Dwarka devotees. In other words, they're not intimate residents of Vrindavan who never think Krishna is the supreme and are not impeded in their relationship. A resident of Vrindavan is not impeded in the relationship with Krishna by awe and reverence or knowledge that Krishna is the supreme. So they don't have that intimate status, but nor are they totally awe and reverence bhaktas. They're in between. I like how Srila Prabhupada describes them. They're nearing Vrindavan. So that's why you see kind of it may seem even a bit transcendently schizophrenic when Krishna appears in the prison of Kamsa. Vasudeva is astonished that, first of all, how is it that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all-powerful, omnipotent, is appearing within the prison of Kamsa? And number two, look at him. He's fully decorated with hair and implements. Shankha, Chakra, Padma, Gada, the club, the lotus flower, the chakra, the conch shell. What kind of child is born like that? And he's my worshipable Lord, yet he's appearing as my son. All these factors stunned Vasudeva. He was feeling two things simultaneously. Krishna is Supreme Personality Godhead, and Krishna has appeared as my son. So he go back and forth between those two poles. The same with Devaki. 1 minute she's praying to Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the next minute she's feeling maternal fear. What's going to happen when Kamsa finds out that you're born? He's going to try to kill you. I've got to persuade you to please hide yourself. Why should Krishna hide himself? When she's just prayed to him that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but at the same time, she's feeling maternalism. She's feeling motherly. So you might want to say, please make up your mind, Vasudeva and Devaki. Be one way or the other. But that is their special status, in between. They're glorious in-betweeners. In between Dwarka and in between Dwarka and Vrindavan. Devaki had an anxiety. If the word gets around that I've given birth to a 4-armed baby, who is going to believe this? And secondly, Kamsa will know that this is his perennial enemy, Vishnu. So she was in anxiety that I can't hide a 4-armed baby. The word will spread. But Krishna was also in anxiety. Both their anxiety is transcendental. Both their anxieties have nothing to do with material anxiety, material energy. So Krishna's anxiety was that you're afraid, Devaki, you're afraid of Kamsa. Unless I appear as with 4 arms, you won't believe that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is here and all your problems are finished. I have to appear with 4 arms so that you get the point, that there are no worries now. But Devaki is in anxiety, as we said, for another reason. What am I going to do with a 4-armed baby? How am I going to hide him? What am I going to say to others? Please change yourself into a more ordinary looking form. So this shows you the dealings between persons who are apparently Krishna's mother and father. But remember, Krishna has no birth. He's the unborn, yet he appears to take birth. Similarly, he doesn't need a mother or father. But because some devotees want to love him in that way, he accepts someone as mother. He accepts someone as father. It's all about love. Bhakti is the love thing. But to appreciate the bhakti love thing, we have to have some humility. That bhakti love is far beyond our mundane conceptions. We have pride, as I often explain. I know what love is. I'm not getting enough of it. We recite the slogans, everybody needs love. Love makes the world go round. We actually don't have a clue what real love is. And that's why it's so important to hear Krishna's pastimes, because then you see the real standard. Devaki wanted Krishna to disappear from that particular scene. But a woman who's just given birth to a child wants the child to disappear. But this is how much she loved Krishna. Better I be without your presence than you stick around here and Kamsa tries to kill you. She's simply thinking of the welfare of Krishna, her child. Well, at the same time, she says he's a supreme personality of Godhead. So again, you might want to say, why don't you make up your mind? Which one is it? But that's Vasudeva and that's Devaki. They're in a special niche. On the other hand, in Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they don't think that Krishna is the supreme. They remember the words of Gargarishi, who told them their son will be like Narayan, or maybe at times equal to Narayan somehow. They remember that, but no, they're always thinking Krishna is our son, 100%. Others may call him the supreme. That's their hang up. We respect their choices, but we know he's our son. And if he's naughty, we're going to chastise him. We're going to correct him. We don't want to discourage others. We respect their views. We're ecumenical. We're interfaith. They want to see Krishna as God. Okay. But we know the reality. When he's hungry, he cries. He makes mischief. He talks endlessly. If he feels neglected, he throws a temper tantrum. We know about child Krishna. But if you want to see him as God, okay. We'll tolerate that. We're broad-minded. We're ecumenical. The real celebration about Krishna's birth did not happen in Mathura, in the prison cell of Kamsa, certainly. The real celebration happened in Vrindavan. Vasudeva and Devaki, extraordinary as they are, extraordinary beyond what we can conceive, still they didn't get the fortune of raising Krishna and Balaram as children. In fact, the same night that Krishna appeared, he's gone to Vrindavan. Just think about that from the viewpoint of motherhood, or whatever you know about motherhood. You give birth even to an ordinary child, and a few hours later, the child's gone. What to speak of, you give birth to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a few hours later, he's gone? But Vasudeva and Devaki are simply thinking about Krishna's safety. So they had no joyous celebration. They're in prison. They're so concerned about Krishna's safety. Meanwhile, Krishna is so concerned about them. But in Vrindavan, when Yashoda Mai wakes up because she went after giving birth, she was exhausted. She couldn't really know what happened in terms of, did I give birth to a girl or a boy? But she woke up, and there is Krishna. And his first crying is like the equivalent of Omkar. The first time baby Krishna cried, it was the same as Om. His crying announced his presence. The celebration in Vrindavan was so glorious. It's described by Srila Jiva Goswami. First of all, understand some background. Nanda Maharaj actually shouldn't have been the king of Braj. It should have been the oldest brother, Upananda. You see, there's Parjanya, who is Nanda Maharaj's father. Parjanya had 5 sons: Upananda, Abhinanda, Nandana, Nanda, and Sananda. So of the quintet, Upananda was the oldest. And it is natural that the oldest son, upon the father's reaching retirement age, becomes heir to the throne. And so Parjanya prepared to pass the lineage of King of the Cowherds to Upananda. And so the ceremony was arranged. But in the midst of the ceremony, Upananda says, wait a minute. Everyone knows that Nanda Maharaj is the beloved of all. Everyone's eyes are always upon him, mine included. He said, it's not that Nanda Maharaj is just fit to be my leader. No, he's fit to be everyone's leader. He said, just look around and see how everyone is staring at Nanda Maharaj because of his cooperation with the Super Soul. I will be so happy if Nanda Maharaj is, although he's not the oldest, still, he's the natural choice. And so that's what happened. Upananda said, I'll live up to my name. Upananda means the follower of Nanda. So let me do that. Make Nanda Maharaj the king of Braj, and I will be his humble follower. So that happened. In the course of Nanda Maharaj being the king of Braj, there arose a problem. He didn't have a son. And this caused Nanda Maharaj and his wife Yashoda consternation. You could say, well, why weren't yagyas performed so that they could have children, as was common in times when such yagyas were effective for those goals? Yes, yagyas were performed, but still no son. But then Nanda Maharaj one day was looking at Yashoda Mai, and he saw a dark blue child on her lap, and Yashoda was feeding him her breast milk. So Nanda Maharaj wondered about that. Some months later, his wife indeed was expecting. And both Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai had a vision. The vision started with Nanda Maharaj. He saw a dark blue child go from his mind to the mind of his wife Yashoda. And she also saw that. You see, you may question, how could it be that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in someone's womb but he's present everywhere. Why not the womb? And he can appear from whatever he likes. Just like Nrsingadev appeared from a pillar, similarly, Krishna can appear from the womb, he can appear from the heart, he can appear from the mind. So whatever way you think Krishna was born, it really is a detail because he's everywhere and he's not hampered by any particular circumstances. He's the master of all his energies. The birth celebration of Krishna in Vrindavan was wild. The residents of Vrindavan were so happy. Now, actually, we'll talk a little bit about Balaram. You see, Krishna appeared from Devaki. He also appeared from Yashoda, but that's more confidential. The standard explanation given is that Krishna is Devaki Nandana. And Yashoda doesn't mind that. She's very close with Devaki, and she's happy to give Devaki the credit that Krishna is her son. Although Yashoda 100% intensely feels that Krishna is her son, at the same time, she's happy that the public credit and fame goes to Devaki. Just see these Vaishnava dealings. So Krishna evidently spent 8 months in the womb. Of course, remember, he's everywhere. But he appeared, instead of after 9 months, he appeared at the 8-month mark just to bewilder the non-devotees. Kamsa's waiting for that 9th month. And then Krishna says, I'll come early. Kamsa had it all figured out. Month number 9 is when I really bear down, when I really focus. But so Krishna comes in month 8. Balaram, however, lingered in the womb. You know, he was transferred from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. He lingered for 14 months. And in this way, Balaram appeared just a brief time before Krishna appeared. So Balaram is slightly Krishna's older brother. He's Krishnagraja, Krishna's older brother. Slightly. It could have been a much greater difference in age between the two, but Balaram stayed in the womb for 14 months. So the celebration that was let loose in Vrindavan. The main part of the celebration, of course, is giving charity. Nanda Maharaj giving such profuse charity. Basically, if something moved, he gave charity to it. And then the other extraordinary aspect of the birth celebration in Vrindavan was the milk products fighting. The Brijbasis throwing yogurt and all kinds of milk products at each other, drenching each other. There was so much yogurt and other liquefied milk products everywhere that the drains in Vrindavan were all clogged. It was like the whole town of Vrindavan became, the whole area of Braj became like the ocean of milk. Everyone is drenched. They're throwing milk products on each other. And then when they finally come to an end with that, they all bathe in the river Yamuna. The happiness cannot be conceived of. We can't conceive of the happiness with our Kali Yuga understanding, the happiness of the Brijbasis upon the birth of Krishna has to be revealed to us so we can grasp its full impact, revealed to us by the acharyas, by Krishna. So please remember, we want to understand Krishna in truth, and that is not a cheap thing. Whatever progress we've made in understanding Krishna is not because of our material intellect, it's because of the blessings of devotees. It's the devotee that clears the path for Krishna to be understood by us. This is why we're always trying to please the devotee of Krishna. Because otherwise, Krishna is not directly interested in us unless we please his devotee. Then you catch his attention very quickly. For understanding him, we have to adopt the method that he prescribes. Only through devotional service can it happen. So we're very careful to keep ourselves engaged in devotional service. Whatever our ashram status is, the central point of our life, the be-all and end-all is devotional service. Without that, how are we going to understand Krishna? He says, you can only understand me in this way. So we're not ritualistic religionists. We're not good karma performers. We are the devotional service group, the devotional service organization. Whether the organization is on the neighborhood level, local level, national level, international level, we are the devotional service group. So we cling to devotional service with all our might because we know this is my only chance to understand Krishna and develop love for Krishna. There's so many misunderstandings of Krishna. We don't want to fall in that group. The more we understand Krishna, it's natural that we'll become more attracted to him. If you want to love someone, you want to find out all about that person. And you want to act in such a way to catch that person's interest. Our life is dedicated to trying to attract Krishna's attention through our service. The love of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai is such a standard that is almost difficult to talk about. Even Lord Brahma, in talking about the residents of Vrindavan in general, said his mind is totally boggled and bewildered by what can Krishna give to his devotees when he's already given himself to Putana, a witch who disguised herself as a favorable person in order to kill Krishna. Yet Krishna gave her a position in Golok equal to his own mother. So Lord Brahma is confessing. He says, my mind is blown. This is beyond me. What is left to give to the residents of Vrindavan? Don't they deserve more? Yet Krishna's given himself to Putana. Of course, the fortune of Mother Yashoda is inconceivable. But this is Brahma just giving you insight into the consequences of pure love of Krishna as experienced by Krishna's topmost devotees. Krishna, what do you have left for them? You give yourself to Putana. So how are you going to treat your own people special? Part of advanced love of Krishna is that you feel a sense of mamata, possessiveness. In the case of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they felt Krishna's our son. That feeling of possessiveness intensifies the love, intensifies the rasa. The friends of Krishna think Krishna's my friend. The lovers of Krishna, of course, think he's mine. I often ask the question. You don't have to answer. How did it feel? Has anyone ever grabbed hold of you and said, "You're mine"? There's some kind of buzz to that because it's based pervertedly on the ultimate Vrindavan reality in which the devotee feels Krishna's my son, he's my lover, he's my friend, he's my master. And of course, that feeling in Vrindavan is devoid of awe and reverence. Yoga Maya makes sure of that no one thinks Krishna is God because that'll ruin all the fun. So Krishna has an energy for managing his pastimes so that everything happens for ever increasing pure love. On this Janmashtami, let us recommit ourselves to understanding Krishna. We have so many books to read and so much service to do. By the quality of our service, we become more eligible or less eligible to understand Krishna. This is the greatest mystery of the yoga system, the greatest mystery of the meditation system. The greatest mystery is Krishna. Is he like a huge sapphire gem, or is he like a blue lotus? This is what the residents of Vrindavan were thinking about the newborn child. Look at this child. Are we looking at a child, or are we looking at a big sapphire? Are we looking at a child, or are we looking at blue lotuses? So again, let us recommit ourselves in the coming year to increasing our commitment and dedication to understanding Krishna and helping others to understand Krishna. The more you help others to understand Krishna, the more Krishna from within your heart allows you to understand him. It's a personal thing, right? We are persons, and Krishna is the supreme person. He's Purushottam, the best of all persons. Lila Purushottam, the best of all persons who has Leela's pastimes. So I thank you very much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.